Hey guys, welcome to the Accurate Perspective, episode 6. Yes, I can't believe we're already at episode 6. Tonight we have Corey Gibson on with us. Corey, welcome. What are you running for?
I'm running for U.S. Congress.
That's right. He's just going to hang out with us tonight. We're going to give you guys the last day of filing updates, and it is a juicy one. All right, Lindsay, go for it.
Alrighty, so we have some new commissioners here. District 1 is still just Amanda McKinney, no competitors with her. District 2, with addition to Kyle Curtis, today we got Tony Sandoval and Dulce Gutierrez. And in District 3, we had LaDon Lindy, and now we also have Steve Saunders.
Yeah, so this is interesting with Dulce. She actually used to sit at the city council in Yakima. In District 1. And she's kind of been all over the place. She's been a part of different organizations all over. Tony Sandoval, very interesting about him is there is not a race he hasn't ran for. So he's ran for city council multiple times. He's actually ran, I believe, against Dan Newhouse once as well, lost. And then just as recently as last year, he ran for city council again. So, you know, he is persistent at trying to find a spot where he can serve his community. So I think it's very interesting that he's back in there. It's also interesting too that Amanda McKinney has no competitor.
Yeah, I can't imagine wanting to do this like more than once. You know what I mean? Like running for office, there's so much involved and so much work. I can't imagine being like a compulsive election campaigner.
Just keep running. Well, and then so the new one over in District 3, Steve Saunders. So for those who don't know who Steve is, he is the VFW post commander here in Yakima. He's one of the biggest dudes I've seen around town. Big old tall dude walking around. Typically has
cowboy hat guy.
Yep. Sometimes he's got a cowboy hat, and he's mostly got a pistol on his hip. So he's pretty cool dude, but he's going to be running for District 3. So it'll be a fun one to see. 2 Republicans battling it out down in the lower valley. So, you know, could be interesting. See what happens.
Yeah.
Moving on, though, did we talk about the new county clerk update last night? I can't remember. But I'll talk about it anyway. So we do have 3 now in the county clerk's office running, which is Deborah Delatorre. She is running. Don't know anything about her yet. We're getting there, though. No updates on county coroner. There's still just the 2 of them. County treasurer, still just Eileen, which I'm grateful because she's been doing it forever. So let's keep it with that gal.
Mm-hmm. She's great.
County assessor, Jacob Tate, same. Joe Brusick, prosecuting attorney, no change there. No change at the auditor's office with Charles Ross. And the sheriff, Bob Udell, finally filed today. So, you know, I was getting a little worried for sheriff over there. I kept texting him, are you going to file or are you just going to keep holding out? So,
does he have anyone running against him?
No one's running against sheriff. Sheriff Bob will be our sheriff once again. He won't stop being the sheriff.
No. Great.
I'm all right with that.
So, all right. What's up for state representative races there, Lindsay?
Okay, District 13, Ron Fode, maybe is how we're going to pronounce his last name. He is someone new today. District 14, Liz Halleck filed today. And Chris Faison. Oh, and Laureen Contreras. Is she? I don't remember. Oh, maybe she. Did we cover her earlier in the week?
No, she actually filed today too. So she's going to be running.
Filers.
Yeah, she's going to be running against Chris Corey in the 14th, and then Gina Mossbrucker actually has 2 competitors now. So Liz Halleck and Chris. I don't even know how to say that last. Faison. Mm-hmm. If we mispronounce it, we're sorry.
Is she running against Chris Corey? Is she a Democrat?
It says no party preference.
Because I don't know why any conservative would run against Chris Corey. He's doing such a good job.
Yeah. So Chris has got a competitor. You know, it's good for folks to have competitors sometimes. It, you know, keeps you alive, right?
Yeah.
You know, keeps you awake, keeps you humble, keeps you connected with the people. So
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, that Liz Halleck, is she the one, she's like the women's reproductive justice, which is that what she calls herself? Is that the one?
Party.
yes,
Yes. Okay. Okay.
yes, that was her party. She also put no preference on her filing, but on the Yakima Herald article, that was what her party name was. So
Oh, okay.
it's interesting, old Liz. In District 15, though, we didn't have any changes there. Still Brian Sandlin and Bruce Chandler. For state senator races, still in District 13, it's just Judy Warnick. So she's going to be the same as she has been, the senator again. But District 15, Jim Honeyford actually has a challenger, which is very interesting. So it's a gal, a new one out of her name is Nikki Torres, out of Pasco. She was, and she still might, I'm not 100% sure, actually sit on the city council in Pasco. She's a Republican, and she's going to take out the incumbent, Jim Honeyford. It's interesting. Don't know anything about her. Don't even know, she's no relation to the other Torres group here in Yakima, Autumn Torres. There's no relation there. I actually checked that out earlier. So texted Autumn and I said, "Is this your cousin running for?" She's like, "I have no idea who that is." So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's talk about PCO seats. We had a ton.
Yeah. So as of yesterday, the Republicans had 124, and as of today, there's 149 filed anyway. The Democrats, as of yesterday, had 10, and the new number is 18. So.
Yeah. So this is a huge number for the Republicans. Only 30 of those races, or 30 of those, 30 of the precincts are actually contested. So, which means the majority of those people who have filed are your PCOs. They will be your PCOs come this December. So pretty cool to see a lot of people getting engaged, trying to be in that grassroots. I like to take credit for that as a podcast since we started promoting it all week. The numbers have skyrocketed. So.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Just from accurate perspective.
I started recruiting in my rallies.
Yeah. Yeah. So we all will take some credit for the massive number there. I don't know.
America.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. It was the three of us. That's all we know. Yeah.
So some people have said, it's probably because people are upset. That's probably why. But no, we're going to take credit for that. So
yeah, the truth is we could probably get I don't even know how many there are needed, but we could probably get 500 if people just truly understood the structure of the party. That's one of those things. At first, it's hard to communicate that to people, but when people understand the structure of a county party, it gets a lot more. People want to get involved right now. You know what I mean? Now is the time to get people looped in. So maybe that's reflected in what we're seeing. Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, it's really cool though, because I think so much of, people for so long have been trying to figure out what to do, how to be involved, how to connect. I mean, I actually talked to a grandma today who wanted to file for PCO. And it was because she said, I just felt like I needed to do something. I didn't know what to do. And she said,
bless her.
But I was listening to your podcast, and she said, and then it was like, I just need to file. And there was no one in her precinct that had filed. And so, I think that's really cool. Must have been a God thing, because she's, she was super excited to get in there. And
I want to meet her.
Yeah.
I love that.
Email me. I want to meet you.
Yeah. So I don't think there was a whole lot of else changes there. It stayed pretty much consistent throughout. No more people jumping into the Congress race, thank the Lord.
No, I think somebody did.
Well, yeah, that was earlier in the week. So that was Jasik Kobayashi.
Oh,
Kobayashi. Again, I'm sorry if we mispronounce your names. They don't give us pronounce. It's not phonetically spelled out in the voter's handbook here. So,
Or the pronouns. I'm surprised we don't have pronouns in the voter book yet.
so the other thing though that I found interesting. So I want to switch a little bit to our state races because we haven't covered those much at all this week. So there's 18 people running for senator, which is just baffling to me. So I'm just going to kind of go through their names here because I don't know any of these people. So Henry Clay Dennison, he is part of the Socialist Workers Party. That's an interesting party. The Mohammed Hassan Saeed, he is part of the Democrat Party. John Guthner, I think. He's a Republican. Tiffany Smiley, which is probably the favorite for a Republican right now. Nothing new there. She's fundraised a ton. And Dan Van Doen, no party preference there. Dr. Pano Churchill, Democrat. Dave, gosh, these names are tough. Dave Salibio. He is a JFK Republican. And Sam Kuzma, Democrat. Anyways, there is a ton of folks on here. Patty Murray, who is the incumbent, also filed. So, she still wants to keep her job.
Of course. All swamp creatures want to stay in the swamp.
So it's interesting. It's interesting there's that many. I think that's probably the most I've seen in a race before, other than governor last year or in 2020. And then the other one that was interesting is Secretary of State. So there's a bunch of Republicans running. This office used to be held by Kim Wyman, who was a Republican. She's now working for the Biden administration, and that's an interesting one. But Bob Haglund, I've met Bob here in Yakima. Good dude. He's a Republican. Curtis Engel. His party is Union. I don't know what that is. Does anybody know what that is?
Not as a party, no idea.
Yeah. Marquez Tiggs is another one. That's a Democrat. This one's a funny name. I mean, I'm sorry if it's a funny name. It's how I'm going to pronounce it. It's funny. Tambourine Borelli.
Okay, now I actually have Tambourine's. She's a good catch, actually.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like that name.
We might actually be interviewing her for the America First Pact, which viewers might have no idea what I'm talking about, but the point is she's pretty good. She's very big on election integrity.
Interesting. It's interesting because she's ran for different things in the past, and I was looking her up, and she's ran for I want to say it was state representative before, but never as an America First Republican, always as something else. Let me look here. I'm pulling it up.
Hey, Matt, maybe also you can explain with those 18 people running for Senate, how does that work? Are people going to vote on all 18 of them? Does it get narrowed down by party or just narrowed down in general? And the same thing for Congress. Like, how does that work? Does it get narrowed down?
So in our state's a jungle primary, so it'll get whittled down to 2. The top 2 vote getters, no matter the party, will actually move forward.
And when do we vote on those?
Those are happening August 2nd.
Okay.
But the ballots arrive around mid-July.
And it's for Congress and Senate? It'll be for both?
It'll be for everybody who just filed right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting thing about Tambourine. She was a Democrat in 2016. And then in 2018, she ran as an independent. for House District 10. So she's an interesting person. I'm not sure where she's at on things. So, I'd love to hear back from you, Corey, on what you think of her after you talk to her a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would too.
You know?
She's recommended by somebody that I trust a lot. So,
Well, Corey, you mentioned the America First Pact. What's that about?
well, the America First Pact started out just as an idea, sort of like how can a freshman in Congress be effective? Because at the end of the day, good intention is what we always elect people on, and we just hope and trust they're going to be effective. But once you get into office now, I think we all realize that there's a swamp, but that swamp is on the left and the right.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially when you consider yourself to align with the America First sort of principles and policies. So the idea was to create an alliance of candidates from across the country running for Congress. That's how it started, who would support each other on the campaign trail as much as possible, and then work together once in Congress so that we were actually able to be sort of like the anti-squad and be able to really work together and have some power to actually make some things happen. So that's the idea of what the pact is about. And pact with a T stands for Protecting America's Constitutional Traditions.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And if I may share some good news. So, first of all, it blew up, right? So now we have state and Senate and congressional candidates from across the country that are members of the pact. And we had one loss and one win in the primaries that happened just this week. So, and I'm so excited about this because I love this lady so much. Her name's Christine Valverde from North Carolina, and she won her primary. She'll be running against the Democrats, so there's a good chance for her. And then Ambassador Sands, she was in our pact, and she was the former ambassador to Denmark, and she lost, unfortunately. And it's so confusing, the whole Dr. Oz thing. I just don't get. Like his ambassador was running, and he endorsed Oz.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Going back to this a little bit, Steve Hobbs, who's the current Secretary of State, who was appointed by Inslee, he's a Democrat. He filed. Keith Wagoner, which I actually just got to meet Keith on Wednesday at our local GOP meeting here. We're going to try to actually get him on the show. Keith has actually been around a long time in our Senate here in the state, and he's got a pretty good track record, and he's actually polling pretty high. I think he's like second right now at 30% in like one of the most left magazines in the country. He was polling second, which is interesting for a Republican. And then, I don't even know how to say this guy's last name, but his first name is Mark Milosia, is running. And then the last one here, and that was also a Republican. Mark's a Republican. And then Julie Anderson is the nonpartisan contender. So I think right now the three top dogs that have been polling the highest have been Keith, Julie, and Steve Hobbs. So it'll be an interesting race having 8 of them all sitting at that at that table running there. But that's about it, really. There wasn't, I was expecting a lot more action today, but there really wasn't much action. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think we finally got some Democrats, so there's that. We've been waiting all week for that. First time this week.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of shocked too that no one. So with the county races, the county commissioner races, the 2 races that actually have competitors in them are just 2-year terms. And the one that has a full 4 years ahead of her, which is Amanda's race, she has no competitor.
No competitor. Yeah, it's interesting.
So the people who win the other 2 districts right now are going to have to start campaigning again, just really right after they get into office again. Mm-hmm. So interesting. That because if it was me, I would have tried to campaign for the 4-year term. You don't really. I don't like campaigning every single year. I don't know how some of these state representatives do that every other year. They're campaigning. It's got to be brutal.
Same with Congress. I mean, yeah.
You know, I've asked Chris Corey that actually. I said, "How the heck do you even function with 1 year you're actually getting to do fun legislative things?"
Yeah.
And then the next year you're like, I'm just all in campaign mode from about March on, trying to get fundraisers put together, all this other stuff. I mean, that's brutal. So not a whole, it makes it a little harder to try to get a lot of stuff done, but it keeps you focused, laser focused.
Yeah, it keeps you answering questions from your constituency. That's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, because you can't screw up or you're gone. So there's no waiting around. So, well, Corey, tell us about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised here in Central Washington. I was born in Toppenish. I grew up in the apple industry in Sela. Both my parents worked in the apple industry, and my first job was picking apples. So I graduated from Sela, went to college for a bit, studied international studies and foreign affairs. I guess we'll do the crash course of the Corey story. Is that what you want to hear? I had a pretty wild career, actually. So I ended up in my early 20s becoming the online barely existed back then, becoming the on-camera live event host for the Walt Disney Company. Wasn't quite so woke back then, so don't hold it against me. And then I wasn't fulfilled doing that, so I started at 27, I started a marketing company that focused on, it was called Cause Marketing, which you should look up. It's super interesting if you're nerdy, and I am. And then the world of entertainment was trying to diversify how they were marketing their properties. And I was approached by a entertainment advertising firm that worked with networks and studios to develop this new form of marketing for that industry. And so look, you're like 29 or whatever, and someone says, "Hey, do you want to do marketing campaigns for like TV and films?" You're obviously just gonna be like, "Yes, sounds good to me." And so I dove into that and had a lot of success. My first campaign was for Glee, and we raised $1 million for music education for schools that were underfunded. That was the whole point of it. Got a congressional resolution passed, and that got me really excited about doing stuff national. And then I also worked with foreign governments to create campaigns and alliances for education. So I created like a partnership with Uganda and the Prime Minister of Uganda. I worked with him to create a program that kind of educated kids in the U.S. about wildlife conservation by studying mountain gorillas, which is cool. So I got to go mountain trekking gorillas in Uganda and some safaris and stuff. And some good friends. Did work in the Galapagos Islands and then consulting work with World Wildlife Fund Latin America. But you know what? Like my heart and soul was always, and this isn't like just some person running for office talking. Truly, my heart and soul has always been back in Washington, and so I was always trying to get back. So what I did was I couldn't handle LA anymore, the politics and all that. So I started commuting essentially. So I would go down there for campaigns, and then was trying to really start focusing on elevating agriculture marketing with my company. And so for the past 10, 12 years or so, that's really what my focus has been, trying to get out of entertainment and start focusing on that, which I'm fully out of that now. And now we're diving into NFTs. You know, you gotta evolve with technology. So now obviously I'm running for Congress in Washington State's 4th District.
Yeah, man, you've been all over the place. How old are you?
44. Thank you for asking.
Man.
Every time I go to speak, they're like, "Oh, it's the young one," or I had a guy come up to me after this talk that we did with all the other candidates, and then came up to me and was like, "How old are you? 28? 28?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I promise, I didn't trip. I'm not lost. I didn't like just be like, hell, I'll give a speech." And it's actually it's not an issue. It's more funny than anything. So even in my write-up, I was sure just to mention now 44 years old, just so like if someone sees a picture and thinks that I'm, you know, but no matter how old you get, there's always someone that's going to tell you you're young. I've learned this. Like,
Well, you hope.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's just.
Well, I was because you're saying all these things, and I didn't know you were 44, so I'm sitting there going, "Dang, what were you doing this when you were 4 years old? All these travels."
Right? Yeah, I know.
You know, so I'm actually I think I'm the youngest one here today. So you know, yeah,
34.
Almost. I'll be 34 this year. Yeah. So
don't you dare guess how old I am.
no, you don't.
Don't you dare.
You don't guess.
I'm 37.
Age. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I look so much younger too, right? That's what you were going to say, Corey.
Well, I was going to say own it. Like I'm fine saying I'm 44 because everyone thinks I'm 28. So
because you look younger. That's the point. It's fine to be whatever age as long as you look good for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, guys, we are going to have some more shows coming up, and the next show we're actually going to be doing is on. So we're not going to, this is, you guys have been listening to our shows all week and you're like, wow, these things are every day. No, that we're exhausted from doing
We're
them
tired.
every day. So they're not going to be every day. But they are going to be every other week. So this is our last daily one. We're moving back to every other week. So we won't have another show for you guys until June 10th. That'll be our next show dropping. And, so we're pumped about that. That one we're going to dive in to regional government and kind of start talking about what's going on in Yakima, what regional government entities exist. And we're going to be bringing in a guest co-host that day, Mark Herr, actually from the Center for Self-Governance. So he's going to come in and kind of, help unpack what regional government is for us. Because a lot of people, when you start talking regional government, they go, dude, you're just speaking gibberish to me. So now that we're out of filing week, that's one of the things we're going to try to do. And we're also going to keep having candidates on. In June, we're also going to try to get Kyle Curtis on from the county race in District 2. Right now, I'm talking to Doug White, who's running against Corey, actually, in the Congress race.
Well, Matt, we need to ask Corey our education question that we've been asking our candidates.
Yeah, go for it.
Alrighty, Corey, if you watch the debate, you already know the answer to this from Corey, but who's the primary stakeholder in children's education?
1,000% parents. Absolutely. We didn't talk policy or anything like that too much. So is it okay if I give a little plug and just give my website?
Yeah, absolutely.
This actually goes to my events page for like radio spots. So it's easy to remember, So I'll just use it here too. And you can just go to the main section, AmericaFirstWashington.com. We'll get you to my website and it's all spelled out. America First Washington.
All right.
First Washington.
That's awesome. I was going to try to figure out how to put that on the screen here, but I can't figure it out. So it's not happening. Sorry, guys. Yeah. But he said it, AmericaFirstWashington.com.
I have a lot of policy stuff on there, like a lot, way more than anyone else. So you will learn a lot about what I want to do and how I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
And we should link the debate back to this episode to watch. Corey just killed it in the debate. So it'd be nice if people want to go back and watch that if they missed it.
Yeah, it was a good debate. So, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to talk about our sponsors. And I say sponsors, they're not even sponsoring our show. They're just really partnering with us. We're pretty low key. There's no one's helping us here. So
if they were, it would be.
But it would be these guys.
It would be them. So it's Center for Self-Governance. We just talked about Mark Herr and his group, but Center for Self-Governance is the 21st century political leadership training. So, hey, you just got on as a PCO. Hey, you're actually a candidate, and you're trying to figure out, what does this mean? How can I be engaged, and what do I need to be looking for? Well, He's got a bunch of classes coming up in May, the end of May and into June. There's a whole bunch of classes. So go check that out, get connected. And you guys, you can also follow us at a bunch of different places. We are taking support for the show, which is on Patreon. You can find us on there at Accurate Perspective. The biggest tier there is $45 a month, and it actually gets a lunch with the team. You get to come hang out with me, Lindsay, and Dave. And you're probably wondering where the heck Dave is tonight. We are too. I think he's still sick. That or we scared him off. I'm not sure yet. So, Dave, if you're listening to this, phone home.
We miss you.
So, yeah. So you get to have a lunch with the team, and we really appreciate that support. But also find us on your podcaster or your podcast catcher. Man, that was a hard one. And any of them, Google, Apple, Spotify, you'll find us. And subscribe, send it to your friends. If you're on Facebook, find us on there. Send it out, share it out. We actually have had a bunch of people this last week been sharing our Filing Week podcast, so it's been really fun. We've had a couple people actually say this podcast has brought them hope for our county. And I thought, wow, that's exactly why I'm doing this. So, So, guys, we'll be back on June 10th. Corey, thank you for joining us tonight. And
Thank you.
Until we see you guys again, have a good one.